Are Arab states picking yet another fight they cannot win? As after China, now Iran's second major nuclear ally openly rages against them. Russia is now training its diplomatic guns on both Arab governments and America over Washington's new Hormuz resolution. A top aide in Putin's camp echoes Beijing's position and dismisses the measure as ill-timed, raising questions over whether a full-blown Russian veto could now be on the cards. As Arab capitals panic over stalled shipping and choked-off oil exports, Moscow and Tehran are closing ranks and blaming the United States alone for the Strait of Hormuz mess.
The Strait of Hormuz remained open and was completely free for shipping until February 28, when, for the second time in 6 months, the U.S. and Israel launched an attack against the Islamic Republic of Iran.
The current situation in the Strait of Hormuz and its global economic consequences are solely the responsibility of the initiator of the war against Iran and their regional partners.
Russia has slammed the US-backed resolution on the Strait of Hormuz, closely echoing China's earlier stance and reinforcing the emerging Moscow-Beijing front. Mikhail Ulyanov, Russia's permanent representative to international organizations, made these remarks in a pointed post on social media, signaling Moscow's displeasure. Ulyanov said that Russia fully shares such an approach, explicitly referring to China's earlier criticism and aligning Russia's position with Beijing's. His comments clearly hinted that Russia might be ready to wield its veto, casting serious doubt on any Western attempt to push the resolution through. China's ambassador to the UN criticized the proposed US-Bahraini text in comments carried by PassBlue. Fu Song was quoted as saying that both the content and the timing of the draft were not right. Fu Song said, and I quote, "We don't think the content is right, and the timing is not right. What we need is to urge both sides to engage in serious and good faith negotiations that can resolve the issue. So passing a resolution at this stage, we don't think is going to be helpful." Unquote. China's position was reported just after Trump wrapped up his China visit, adding another geopolitical layer to the Hormuz standoff. Iran on May 15 accused the U.S. of trying to manufacture a false image of broad international backing over the Hormuz issue. Tehran said Washington was exploiting the high number of co-sponsors attached to a UN Security Council resolution on freedom of navigation in Hormuz. Iran's mission to the United Nations issued the sharply worded response, according to Iran International. Iran's mission to the United Nations said, and I quote, "Should the U.S. trigger any new escalation, all co-sponsoring states will share international responsibility alongside Washington for the consequences. No political excuse or diplomatic cover can absolve them of responsibility for facilitating, enabling, and legitimizing U.S. aggression." Unquote. The warning came in response to a draft UN Security Council resolution focused on freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. Al Jazeera, citing diplomatic sources, reported that the draft had attracted 112 co-sponsors. The resolution was reportedly tabled by Bahrain and the U.S. and framed around protecting international waterways. The same resolution also reportedly calls for an end to Iranian attacks on its Gulf neighbors. Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait were reported to be among those joining the effort, with Bahrain and the U.S. as the principal sponsors. India, Japan, South Korea, Kenya, Argentina, and many other member states were also reported to have signed on. Al Jazeera said that would amount to roughly 2/3 of the UN's 193 member states backing the measure. It was also described as the second such resolution Bahrain has brought before the Council on the issue. The first, tabled in April, was reportedly vetoed by China and Russia, both seen as closer to Iran on the matter.
The Strait of Hormuz remained open and was completely free for shipping until February 28, when, for the second time in 6 months, the U.S. and Israel launched an attack against the Islamic Republic of Iran. What the People's Republic of China has to do with this, and what the Americans are demanding of China in this regard, is difficult for me to understand. As if to say, look, we've started something, we've reached an impasse, and we need to unblock the supply of energy resources, fertilizers, and food through the Strait of Hormuz. Well, it's not really convenient for us to deal with this. Iran doesn't want to open the strait, so put pressure on Iran. Well, you know, it's a rather simple ploy, of course, but I don't think this is a sort of example international diplomacy should be following.
Iran's ambassador to the UN echoed Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov, squarely blaming the United States for the Hormuz impasse and the wider regional fallout. Amir Saeid Iravani delivered his remarks during a special session of the UN Economic and Social Council, using the forum to condemn Washington's actions.
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, Excellencies, Mr. President, growing instability in energy markets, supply chains, and the global trade flows represents a serious challenge to sustainable development, international cooperation, and global economic stability. Within less than 1 year, my country has been subjected to 2 unlawful acts of aggression in clear violation of the Charter of the United Nations and international law. These attacks resulted in the tragic loss of thousands of innocent civilians. These attacks also caused widespread destruction of civilians' economic, energy, and environmental sensitive infrastructure, the consequences of which will not disappear with the end of military operations. Mr. President, perhaps the most important question before this special meeting is not only how to respond to the current crisis, but to ask honestly what are the real root of this growing crisis and instabilities. Allow me to briefly highlight some of the realities that lies at the heart of the current crisis. First, the current instability did not emerge in a vacuum. It is rooted in a military escalation and unlawful act of aggression imposed by the Israeli regime and the United States. These actions have intensified tensions in one of the world's most strategic energy and trade regions and undermined regional and global stability. Second, direct attack against Iran's oil, gas, and petrochemical infrastructure have caused severe economic and environmental damage in the Persian Gulf region. These attacks have also disrupted global energy and fertilizer supply chain with serious implications for food security and agricultural products worldwide. Third, unilateral sanctions, coercive measures, and the maritime blockade imposed by the United States have further fragmented global supply chain and increased instability in energy and commodity market. Fourth, sustainable regional security cannot be achieved through confrontation or dependence on external powers, but only through dialogue, mutual respect, respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, and genuine regional and international cooperation. Iran remains committed to the constructive engagement and efforts to restore stability, energy security, and the Strait of Hormuz to normal conditions, provided that the aggression and military escalation cease and the maritime blockade is lifted. We declare very clearly that the current situation in the Strait of Hormuz and its global economic consequences are solely the responsibility of the initiator of the war against Iran and their regional partners.
Russia's sharp remarks on the Strait of Hormuz came just as Iran unveiled a new tolling system for the strategic waterway, tying diplomacy to control over shipping. A senior Iranian lawmaker announced that the country has devised a new mechanism to control maritime traffic passing through Hormuz, tightening Tehran's grip on the choke point. He stressed that only commercial vessels and parties cooperating with Iran will benefit from this new system, signaling a clear reward and punishment approach. Ibrahim Azizi said, and I quote, "Iran, within the framework of its national sovereignty and the guarantee of international trade security, has prepared a professional mechanism to manage traffic in the Strait of Hormuz along a designated route, which will be unveiled soon. In this process, only commercial vessels and parties cooperating with Iran will benefit from it." End quote. Subsequently, Iran launched a new maritime insurance platform for ships transiting Hormuz, adding another layer to its bid to control and monetize the strait. The platform, named Hormuz Safe, was introduced to provide insurance coverage for vessels using the route, according to reports in Fast News. Reports say the system offers digital insurance policies and allows payments in cryptocurrency, blending financial innovation with geopolitics at one of the world's most critical choke points.